What if I told you that the ancients knew a secret about wealth so profound, so energetically potent, that it could bend reality itself? Not through banks or investments, not through gold stacked in hidden vaults, but through something far more elusive: energy, intention, and consciousness. They didn't just acquire wealth, they aligned with it. These ancient civilizations understood something we've long forgotten. Money is not merely paper or coin, not just a digital number ticking up or down in a bank account. It is a living current, an unseen, intelligent force that flows to those who resonate with it. And today, almost no one remembers how to truly summon it. Yet echoes of this forgotten wisdom still linger. Hidden in sacred temples, carved into crumbling stone, encoded in Vedic hymns and Hermetic scrolls. From the priest kings of Egypt to the mystics meditating in Himalayan caves, wealth was not seen as a product of labor or luck, it was a reflection of spiritual alignment. It was the external echo of internal mastery. In our modern world, we've been taught to chase money as something outside of us. But the ancients attracted it by mastering who they were within. They believed that true wealth comes not from effort alone, but from tuning oneself to a cosmic frequency, a divine rhythm that governs all abundance. And that tuning begins with understanding the energy of money. In this video, we will peel back the veil on one of the most guarded spiritual technologies of the ancient world: the art of energetic wealth. We'll explore how civilizations before us viewed prosperity not as a matter of toil, but of resonance with universal laws. You'll see why most modern approaches to money are fundamentally flawed, and how reclaiming these ancient truths can shift not only your finances, but your identity, your very reality. We'll journey through lost philosophies and esoteric teachings to reveal how money, in its truest form, is an extension of consciousness. This isn't New Age fluff or a shortcut to fortune. This is ancient science. Spiritual alchemy. And once you see it, once you feel it, nothing about your life will remain the same. Are you ready to remember? Long before the rise of modern economies and digital currencies, before the invention of stock markets and credit systems, the ancients were already rich, not merely in material possessions, but in understanding. To them, wealth was not just a measure of resources. It was a reflection of alignment with natural and cosmic law. Civilizations like Kemet, ancient Egypt, Sumer, Vedic India, and even pre-Columbian Mesoamerica held a deep, almost sacred relationship with abundance. They didn't separate spirit from matter. In fact, they believed all matter was spirit, condensed energy vibrating at a slower frequency. Gold wasn't simply valuable because of its rarity, but because it symbolized the sun, the divine source of life and vitality. To possess gold was to carry the light of the gods. In Egypt, wealth was understood through the lens of Ma'at, the principle of balance, truth, and cosmic harmony. Abundance flowed not from greed, but from alignment with divine order. Pharaohs and priests performed rituals not only for protection or fertility but for the flow of resources. Prosperity was seen as a natural consequence of living in alignment with the universe's rhythm. When that harmony was disturbed, through imbalance, injustice, or spiritual corruption, poverty and chaos followed. Similarly, in Vedic philosophy, the concept of Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, was not merely a symbol of money, but of divine grace. Lakshmi would only visit homes where purity, generosity, and spiritual discipline were present. Wealth was not hoarded but honored. It was not owned, it was hosted. The ancient rishis knew that wealth, like fire, could either nourish or consume depending on how it was handled. Even the Hermetic traditions of ancient Greece and Egypt taught that everything in the universe was mental in origin, that thoughts and intentions shaped the material world. In the Kybalion, one of the foundational texts of Hermetic philosophy, it is written, "As above, so below, as within, so without." This wasn't just metaphor, it was instruction. If your inner world was aligned with abundance, your outer world would mirror it. If your spirit was chaotic or resentful, your material world would collapse in reflection. This is why wealth rituals were so common across ancient traditions, not as superstition, but as energetic technology. The Babylonians inscribed abundant spells onto clay tablets. The Taoists aligned their breath with the movement of qi, life force, through intricate energy maps, believing this internal harmony would translate into outer prosperity. Even in early Christian mysticism, there are veiled references to divine provision and energetic stewardship, often obscured by modern interpretations. But as time passed, something shifted. The rise of materialism during the Industrial Age, the conquest of sacred lands, and the severing of spirituality from daily life caused this ancient wisdom to recede into obscurity. Wealth became transactional rather than transformational. The energetic dimension was lost. Money became a source of anxiety, competition, and control, rather than a current of life force. Yet the truth was never destroyed. It was hidden, coded in myths, encased in stone, passed in whispers through mystery schools and esoteric lineages. And now, as the world begins to awaken from its slumber, these teachings are resurfacing. Not as superstition, but as science. Not as fantasy, but as forgotten knowledge returning to those ready to receive it. What we call money today is but a pale shadow of what the ancients understood. They knew that wealth is not something you chase, but something you tune into. A frequency, a vibration, an energy field that responds not to desperation, but to resonance. They knew the truth that modern minds are only beginning to rediscover, that abundance is a mirror, reflecting the harmony or discord within. The question is no longer, how do I get rich? The question is, what am I resonating with? To understand how the ancients truly became wealthy, we must first unlearn everything we've been taught about money. In the modern world, money is often viewed as a fixed object, something earned, saved, spent, or lost. It's wrapped in numbers, contracts, and digital codes. But to the ancients, money was not static. It was alive. It was a flow, a current of subtle energy that responded to intention, emotion, and belief. They didn't see wealth as separate from nature, spirit, or the self. They understood it as an extension of the same invisible forces that move the stars, guide the rivers, and awaken the soul. Let's begin with a simple truth hidden in plain sight. The word currency shares its root with current, something that flows. This is no accident. In ancient times, the idea of hoarding wealth was considered unnatural, even dangerous. Stagnant energy becomes decay. Flowing energy becomes abundance. The river that refuses to flow becomes a swamp. The person who refuses to circulate energy, whether in the form of money, generosity, or creativity, cuts themselves off from the universal stream. Ancient traditions knew this, which is why so many emphasized offerings, tithes, and gifts, not as obligations, but as energetic principles. In African spiritual systems, for example, offerings to the ancestors and spirits were not acts of superstition but transactions of energy, maintaining the flow between realms. In Vedic culture, the principle of dana, sacred giving, was seen as essential to both spiritual and material prosperity. Give, and the universe gives back. But give with fear, or to manipulate, and the current collapses. This is why modern money rituals often fail. They are performed from a place of lack, not alignment. From desperation, not devotion. The ancients understood that the key to unlocking the flow of wealth lay not in the ritual itself, but in the vibration behind it. They taught that everything is energy, and energy obeys frequency. If you vibrate with gratitude, receptivity, and trust, you attract. If you vibrate with fear, scarcity, and resistance, you repel. Imagine your body as a tuning fork. When struck with the right intention, it begins to resonate with a specific frequency. That frequency sends out waves, and those waves shape the world around you. This is not poetic, it is physics. Nikola Tesla himself echoed these ancient truths when he said, "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." The ancients had no laboratories, but they understood this innately. Through rituals, breathwork, chanting, and movement, they would attune themselves to the frequency of abundance, not in theory, but in practice. And here lies the great secret: wealth is not something you create from nothing, it's something you allow by removing the blocks within. These blocks are not just mental, they are energetic. Resentment toward the rich, fear of not having enough, shame around receiving, guilt about desiring more, each of these forms a knot in your energy field, cutting you off from the flow. The ancients didn't just pray for money, they purified themselves to receive it. They cleansed the vessel before calling in the wine. To them, prosperity was a sacred state of being. It wasn't defined by the number of possessions, but by one's relationship to the flow of life. If you lived in alignment, with a clear heart and focused intention, wealth would find you as surely as water finds the ocean. It wasn't magic. It was law, spiritual law, energetic law. The universe, they believed, is not punishing or withholding. It is responsive, reflecting exactly what you project into it. So when the priest-kings of ancient lands amassed wealth, when temples overflowed with gold, it wasn't merely political or military power, it was energetic mastery. They weren't just rulers. They were conductors of the cosmic current. And their wealth was proof of their resonance. We, too, are conductors. The question is, what frequency are we tuned to? Now that we've begun to understand that money is energy, alive, intelligent, and responsive to our inner frequency, we must venture even deeper into the mystery. Because the ancients didn't just see money as an energetic flow. They saw it as a spiritual initiation. A force that reveals the hidden truth of who you are. This is where most modern interpretations falter. In today's world, wealth is approached mechanically: accumulate, invest, repeat. But to the ancient adepts, wealth was alchemical. It was a sacred mirror that amplified the soul's essence. Money did not change people, it revealed them. If fear, insecurity, or ego dominated the inner world, money would magnify those distortions. But if one had cultivated integrity, wisdom, and inner harmony, wealth would amplify light. Consider this: in nearly every spiritual tradition, the initiate is tested with power before they are granted abundance. In ancient Egypt, initiates of the mystery schools were subjected to symbolic death, rituals designed to dissolve the ego and purify the heart. Only then could they be entrusted with the sacred symbols of prosperity, such as the Ankh, a symbol of life force, including material vitality. Wealth, in this context, was not a reward, it was a responsibility. The same is seen in the Eastern traditions. Siddhartha Gautama was born into immense wealth but renounced it to understand suffering. Only after his internal enlightenment did he re-engage with the world, this time not as a prince, but as a Buddha, one who could steward spiritual and material energy without being owned by it. The Vedic seers described this dynamic as artha, one of the four aims of life. But artha, material success, was never meant to come at the expense of dharma, one's spiritual purpose. The two were to be balanced, intertwined. When dharma was honored, artha would flow naturally. The ancients also understood that the energy of money is feminine in nature. It is receptive, intuitive, and fluid. This is why in many cultures, wealth was personified as a goddess, Lakshmi in India, Isis in Egypt, Abundantia in Rome. These deities were not mere myth. They represented archetypal energies, fields of consciousness that responded to devotion, cleanliness, and inner beauty. You could not take wealth from them. You had to invite them. Attract them. Make your soul into a temple they would willingly enter. And so, the ancients mastered the art of invitation, not through manipulation, but through resonance. They knew that you cannot beg abundance to arrive while you are vibrating with doubt. You cannot summon the divine current if your channel is clogged with resentment or greed. The universe responds to clarity, not confusion. This is where we encounter a great spiritual paradox. You must desire wealth without being attached to it. Desire, when pure, is a compass. It reveals what the soul is meant to experience. But attachment twists desire into desperation. The ancients taught that the desire for wealth must be aligned with something greater, a mission, a purpose, a cosmic intention. Otherwise, the energy collapses under the weight of ego. This is echoed in Hermetic thought, where desire is understood not as craving, but as will aligned with higher truth. The magician in the tarot, the first archetype of manifestation, does not create from need, but from clarity. His tools, wand, sword, cup, and pentacle, represent spiritual authority over all the elements, including the material. He stands as a reminder: you do not chase abundance. You command it through energetic integrity. But command here does not mean force. It means alignment. You speak the language of the universe fluently, and it listens. This language is not spoken with words, but with vibration. With the subtle coherence of thought, emotion, and intention. The ancients knew how to hold this coherence through daily rituals, mantras, breathwork, and visualization, not as empty habits, but as energetic technologies. Every chant, every movement, every symbol was calibrated to awaken frequencies within the body that could harmonize with the divine source of wealth. One of the most profound teachings from these traditions is this: the universe is not withholding anything from you. You are withholding yourself from it. Your birthright is abundance, not because you deserve it in the moral sense, but because abundance is the default state of life. Look at nature, it overflows. Seeds sprout into forests. Rivers do not trickle, they surge. Stars do not dim, they blaze. Scarcity is not natural. It is conditioned, learned, and it must be unlearned. So the question becomes, what is standing between you and the wealth that is already trying to reach you? In most cases, it is inner fragmentation, conflicting beliefs, emotional wounds, generational patterns. The ancients didn't avoid these, they transmuted them. They used the very energy of pain to generate spiritual fire. That's the hidden secret behind the ancient phrase, turning lead into gold. It was never about metal. It was about transformation. Turning unconscious scarcity into conscious abundance. When you begin this alchemical work, not just mentally, but energetically, you begin to shift your frequency. And when your frequency shifts, so does your reality. Doors open, opportunities appear. Money arrives in unexpected ways. Why? Because the universe isn't reacting, it's reflecting. So how do we begin to embody this ancient understanding of money as energy? How do we move from intellectual grasping to actual energetic transformation? The answer is not found in spreadsheets or quick-fix affirmations, but in sacred discipline, daily actions that recalibrate your inner world and align you with the current of abundance. This is where the ancient meets the modern, and where theory must become practice. The first and most vital step is purification, not of the body, but of belief. Sit in silence and ask yourself, what do I truly believe about money? Do I believe I must suffer to earn it? That I am not worthy of having more than just enough? That spiritual people should reject wealth? These beliefs are not just thoughts, they are frequencies. And like viruses in your energetic field, they corrupt your signal. You cannot receive divine abundance while broadcasting scarcity from your subconscious. One powerful exercise is what the mystery schools called shadow integration. Write down every negative belief or emotion you've ever held about money: shame, guilt, resentment, fear. Trace them. Where did they come from? Who did you absorb them from? Parents? Religion? Culture? Then, in a sacred space, perhaps with incense burning or soft candlelight, speak each belief aloud, and declare your release of it. This is not mine. I no longer carry it. Burn the paper as a symbolic offering. This is not mere ritual, it is energetic surgery. You are clearing the vessel. Next, you must replace the vacuum with a new signal, what the ancients would call a sacred resonance. This is where mantras, visualizations, and movement come in. Use mantras not as robotic repetitions, but as vibrational alignments. A simple Sanskrit mantra like Om Shrim Mahalakshmiyai Namaha invokes the energy of Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance. Chant it slowly, feeling each vibration ripple through your body. Do this daily, preferably at dawn, when the veil between worlds is thin and your energetic field is most receptive. Visualization is another potent tool, but not the superficial kind that imagines stacks of cash. Visualize yourself as already aligned with abundance, walking through your day calm, generous, radiant. See yourself giving with joy, receiving with gratitude, and creating without fear. Feel the emotions as present, not distant. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, so when you feel abundance, you begin to signal that frequency into the quantum field. One of the most overlooked practices is movement, especially rhythmic, intentional movement. The ancients danced to invoke energy. They knew that movement unblocks stagnation and awakens dormant forces. Whether it's a flowing yoga sequence, a drumming meditation, or simply swaying to music with eyes closed, movement recalibrates your energetic flow. If money is current, then you must move like a current. Let the body become the river. Also, bring consciousness into your transactions. Every time you spend, bless the money as it leaves your hand. Silently affirm, "May this energy return to me multiplied, in divine timing and form." This creates a loop of gratitude and trust. Similarly, when receiving money, no matter how small, pause and express thanks. Feel it. Even a coin has spirit. Gratitude, when embodied, acts like a magnetic field, drawing more of what it appreciates. And perhaps most crucially, align your purpose with your prosperity. Ask yourself, how can I serve the greater whole with my gifts? When your income becomes a byproduct of your dharma, your sacred purpose, money stops being a master and becomes a servant. The ancients believed that when your work uplifts, heals, or awakens others, the universe must support you. Why? Because you are in alignment with the flow of evolution itself. You are no longer trying to survive, you are helping life expand. Still, challenges will arise. Scarcity programs don't dissolve overnight. Doubt will visit. Fear will whisper. But you now know these are not signs of failure, they are initiations. They are the guardians at the threshold of abundance, testing your devotion. When fear surfaces, don't resist it. Breathe into it. Speak to it like an old friend. I see you. But I no longer serve you. Let it pass, and return to your practices. Finally, honor time. The ancients taught that everything unfolds in kairos, sacred timing. Just as seeds require seasons to grow, wealth requires energetic momentum. Trust the process. If you have planted with integrity, tended with devotion, and remained aligned, the harvest will come. And it will be richer than anything you could have imagined. So now you see, the path to wealth, as walked by the ancients, was never about luck, greed, or manipulation. It was about alignment. Alignment with the divine currents of life. Alignment with one's inner truth. And most of all, alignment with the energy of abundance that flows not from the outer world, but from the soul itself. They knew something that most modern minds have forgotten, that wealth is not something to be acquired, it is something to be remembered, reawakened, and embodied. Wealth, in its highest form, is a frequency. It is the signature of life in full bloom, generous, radiant, overflowing. And to truly step into that frequency, you must become the kind of being who can hold it. Not grasp it. Not force it. But hold it, with grace. Like water in a sacred cup. That is why the ancients spent lifetimes cultivating virtues, patience, clarity, discernment, and humility. Because they knew that gold means nothing if the heart is not pure. And riches become poison in the hands of the uninitiated. We've explored how money is not just paper, coin, or code. It is an echo of your inner state. A reflection of your beliefs, your boundaries, your energy. And we've seen how the ancients, through ritual, philosophy, and practice, learned to dance with this force, rather than chase it. They became magnets, vessels, mirrors of divine flow. And in doing so, they accessed not only material wealth, but spiritual sovereignty. And now the invitation is yours. You can continue to operate in the old paradigm, striving, stressing, surviving. Or you can begin, even today, to shift. To see money not as a problem to solve, but as a spirit to understand. A current to swim with, not against. To treat your relationship with wealth as sacred. Living. Worthy of reverence and study. Because once you learn to align with the energy of money, you will realize something startling. It was never about the money. It was about who you had to become to receive it. The real treasure is not in your bank account, it's in your frequency. In your clarity, in your capacity to hold light. So I leave you with this question. If money is alive, and it's listening to the song of your soul, what is it hearing? And if you're ready to dive deeper, to reclaim the ancient wisdom that was once your birthright, you already know where to begin. Start within. Start now. The energy is already moving. If this awakens something in you, share it. Speak it. Practice it. Because the more of us who remember, the more we restore the flow for all.